So this video lesson is going to be over solving equations with whole numbers. Of course, actually it should say integers, solving equations with integers, because you are going to be presented with negative whole numbers as well. All right, so in the last lessons, we learned how to distribute and combine like terms through simplifying. So remember, this was called simplifying. And then whenever we solved equations with two-step equations, we only did numbers in solve. So that's two-step. So now what's going to happen is we're going to add on all of these steps. So first step is always to distribute, then combine like terms, move the variable to one side of the equal sign, move the numbers to the opposite side of the equal sign, and then to solve by using division or multiplication. All right, so since I wrote over here, so there is a mnemonic to remember this because you will have to memorize this. You will have to know the steps. So D, C, B, N, S. So a mnemonic to help you remember that is dumpsters contain very nasty stuff. So dumpsters contain very nasty stuff. So that's distribute, combine like terms, variable, numbers, and solve. So this can be a mnemonic to kind of help you memorize the steps to solving the equations, which you'll have to do first. So distributing is always first. Remember, distribute is taking the terms on the left side of the parentheses and distributing it to each term inside the parentheses. All right, so this also should be called this is also called solving equations with integers with variables on both sides. Variables on both sides of the equal sign. So that means that on the left side of the equation, which is called an expression, you would have just the variable, and then like a constant would be a number on its own would be on the right side. So now this time you're going to have to actually move the constant over to one side, and then the variables, we're going to have to move the variables this time as well. All right, so a lot of times, and especially on the STAR exam, you're going to be presented with what's called a model. So you'll get something that looks like this. You'll have to write out the equation yourself. So notice that sometimes they'll give you like a balance too, like a balance scale, but we'll get more into that a little bit later. So what you're going to do is you're going to look and see, okay, look inside each shape that they give you. So notice that's an X, 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 X. How many X's do we have? We have 6. So that means our coefficient is going to be 6, and we have those X's. All right, and then we have little ones on their own. So that means those are going to be the constants. And how many do we have? We have 2, 4, 6, 7, positive 7. So 6x plus 7, we have our equal sign. Bring down our equal sign. I'm going to go ahead and just write it down here. So that way it's a little bit closer to each other. All right, we have an x right here. Notice that it's a positive x. So it's just one x. So we just express that as x. And then notice these are negative numbers. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's going to be expressed as negative 8. All right, so we got our equation down. So we're going to have to follow all the steps. Some steps are going to pertain to an equation, some aren't, and that means we just simply skip them. All right, so first step is to distribute. So remember, we distribute if we have a parenthesis. So you ask yourself, do we have a parenthesis in this equation? The answer is no, so we can skip that step. Combine like terms. So remember, in past videos, whenever we're combining like terms, we can only combine on one side of the equation side. So if we're going to combine, we're going to cover up the other side of the equation, which is called an expression, and we're only going to look at the left side. Can we combine these? No, we have two terms, only one of them has a variable. So we're going to look over here, look at this expression, we have two terms. Can we combine these two? No, this one has a variable, this term has just a constant. So don't think that you can combine on each side of the equal sign. You can't, only on one side, and it tells you that right here. It must be on the same side of the equal sign. All right, so we don't have to combine like terms, so we can skip that step. So now we get to variable. So variable says we use the inverse operation to move variables on one side. So we treat this variable just like the step of numbers. So numbers, or the constants, we use inverse operations to move constants. So to move the constants, we either take the inverse operation, which is positive or negative. So we're going to do the same thing with variables too. Take the inverse operation of positive or negative. That's if there's a term of a variable on both sides of the equation. And that's what we have. We have this one and we have this one. And remember, our goal does not change. Our goal is to isolate the variable, which means to get the variable onto one side of the equation by itself, and that's what x equals. And of course, before that, our goal is we need to get the variable on one side of the equal sign and the number, which is also called the constant, on the other side of the equal sign. Let's move up a little bit. So we need to isolate the variable, get x equal to something. Before we can do that, we need the variable on one side of the equal sign and the constant on the other side. So that means since we have a constant on both sides and a variable on both sides, we're going to have to use inverse operations to cancel out an x value or a variable value and a constant value. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the variable since that's what our steps tell us to do. So we use inverse operations. I'm going to do this one so just to keep it easier so that way I don't have to mess with the negative numbers. So we have a positive 1x. Inverse operation to get that equal to 0 is going to be a negative 1x. If I subtract x on this side, I must subtract x on the other side of the equal sign. Oops, let me bring down that equal sign so I don't get confused. So minus 1x minus 1x. That cancels out since it's equal to 0. 6x minus 1x. So our x is going to carry down. However, 6 minus 1 is 5. So we're going to express that as 5x. Bring down our positive 7. And bring down our negative 8. All right, so now it looks like an equation. Basically, we just added another step. So it looks like the equation that we're used to, two-step equations. So now we don't want to cancel this 8 and bring it over here because remember one of our goals is to get the variable on one side of the equal sign and the constant on the other side of the equal sign. So it makes more sense to cancel out the 7, get it equal to 0. So if I subtract 7 on this side, I have to subtract 7 on this side. All right, 7 minus 7 is 0. Bring down our 5x. So now we're on the numbers, removing the variables by using inverse operations. So that's the step that we're on right now. Right, so 5x equals, so negative 8 minus 7. So that should be, so two negatives. Largest number is a negative, so that means we're going to add these. So that's 15, so we're going to have a negative 15. All right, so now we have 5x equals negative 15. What's the next step is to solve, which is going to be multiply or divide, use inverse operations to isolate the variable. So to isolate this variable, we have 5 times x. I'm going to rewrite that 5. 5 times x, inverse operation of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 5 to get it equal to 1x on its own. If I divide on this side, I have to divide on this side. So that cancels out. We get x is equal to negative 15 divided by 5, which comes out to negative 3. Because negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. All right, so this one's equal to x equals negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and go to the practice ones. I'm going to keep these handy so that way I know. All right, so first step is I'm going to write it over here to the side. So dumpsters contain very nasty stuff. All right, so D is distribute. We have no parentheses, so we can skip. Combine like terms, looking at one, variable number, looking at the other side, variable number, so we can skip that step. All right, variable, we have variables on both sides, so I'm going to cancel out one variable, get it equal to 0, so that way I can bring it to the other side. We have a negative 1x, so I'm going to do positive 1x. If I do it on this side, I have to do it on this side. One thing I didn't say in the other example is that whenever you're moving constants or moving variables, you have to keep the variables with the same variables. So we can't do plus 1x and plus 1x right here by this 2. So that's a common mistake. Keep your variable with your variable. That's very important. All right, so -1 plus 1 equals 0. It cancels out. 3 plus 1 comes out to 4x. Bring down our positive 2. Bring down our negative sign. And then bring down our -2. All right, so we move the variable. So now we want to move the number to the opposite side of the equal sign that the number is on. So variable on one side, number on the other. All right, so that means it's going to make sense to put +2 +2, or excuse me, -2. I'm making a common mistake. So inverse operation of +2 is -2. We want to get it equal to 0. 2 minus 2 is 0, cancels out. Bring down our 4x. Bring down our equal sign. If I subtract 2 on this side, I must subtract 2 on this side. -2 minus 2 comes out to -4. So I move the number. Got our goal of having the variable on one side of the equal sign, and then the number on the other side of the equal sign. So now we solve using inverse operations of multiplying or dividing. We have 4 times 1x, so we're going to divide inverse operation and divide on both sides. 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1x. So x is equal to -4 divided by 4, so that is equal to -1. So x equals -1 on that one. All right, let's get to number 2. So this time we have 6r plus 7 equals 2r minus 8 plus r. All right, always go through your steps. Distribute. I'm going to write it up here. Distribute. Dumpsters contain very nasty stuff. All right, distribute. Do we need to distribute? No, there's no parentheses. Combine like terms. Looks like we can. I'm going to look over on this side first. We have a variable. We have 2 terms, variable and a number. Can't combine on this side. We have 3 terms on this side. We have 2r, -8, and then 1r. We got two of the same variables here, so this time we can combine like terms. So I'm going to rewrite this. 6r plus 7 is equal to, we got our positive 2r and our plus 1r, which comes out to 2 plus 1 is 3r. Our r variable stays the same, and then we carry down our constant. So now we rewrite this as 3r minus 8. Now we can move on. We combine like terms. So now we have the step variable, move the variable on one side. I'm going to move this one again because I like to avoid negative numbers as much as possible. So we have positive 3r. I'm going to take minus 3r. Keep your variable with your variable. So if I subtract 3r, I have to subtract 3r from another r on the other side. So minus 3r. That cancels out since it's equal to 0. 6 minus 3 is 3. Bring down our r. Bring down your 7. It's going to be plus 7, sorry. Is equal to -8. Bring down your -8. All right, we moved our variable. So now we need to move our number to the opposite side because our goal is to get the variable on one side of the equal sign, number on the other side. All right, so that means I'm going to take this positive 7, make it a -7. That way I get it equal to 0. Subtract -7 on this side. That cancels out. Bring down your 3r. So we have 3r is equal to -8 minus 7, which comes out to -15. All right, so now we have 3r equals -15. We moved our number. So we have variable on one side, constant on the other side. So now we solve. 3 times r, inverse operation is division. So divide by 3, divide by 3. Get r is equal to -15 divided by 3, which you should get 5, -5, because -5 times positive 3 is -15. So r equals -5. So that means if we were to take -5 and then plug it into every single r up here, this side would equal this side. We would get the same number. All right, let's take a look at this last one. Already I can tell we're going to distribute. So we got dumpsters contain very nasty stuff. All right, so distribute. Gotta get rid of these parentheses. So we take the term to the left of the parentheses, multiply it to each term inside the parentheses. So 3 times 1x, we get 3x. 3 times -1, we get negative 3. This is separated by a term, so we get plus 2x, bring down our plus 2x, and then bring down our 3x plus 5, no parentheses. All right, so we distributed, so now we need to look and see if we can combine like terms. So I'm going to look at the right side first. We got variable and a number. We got variable, number, and variable. Same variable. So we can combine these. We have a positive 3x and a positive 2x. So we take 3 plus 2, which is 5. Bring down our x, get 5x, cross those out. Bring down our negative 3. Bring down our equals. Can't combine this, so we leave that as is. So now we combine. So now we need to move the variable. I'm going to move this 3x. Get that equal to 0. So that comes out to 2x. I'm going to write it over here to the right a little bit so that way I'm closer to the line. Bring down our negative 3 is equal to positive 5. Bring down your positive 5. Right, move your variable. We've got variable on one side now. Now we need to get the number on the opposite side. So inverse operation of negative 3 is positive 3. Plus 3 on both sides. That cancels out. Bring down your 2x. That equals 8. So now we have 2x is equal to 8. 2 times x. So inverse operation is division. Divide by 2 to get it equal to 1x, because 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 1x, or just x. Have to divide by 2 on both sides. So that means x is equal to 4. All right, so that's combining like terms. Not combining like terms. That is solving equations using all of the steps with variables on both sides.